Hi guys, what is going on, and welcome back to another video on Conqueror's Blade. So, today we are revisiting the Tercios. Doesn't feel like it's actually been that long since we last took a look at them. I think it was sort of back in February sometime. But since we actually did that video, we've of course had all the epic Doctrines come out, and we've had quite a few for musket units. I've got two of the sort of main ones for my Tercios now, so I thought it was about time we had a little bit of a revisit of them. Plus, if nothing else, I kind of wanted to do the silly music on them at the start, even though I don't know why it seems to fit these Tercios so well. It just seems to. It seems to be a perfect combination for me. But anyway, sidetrack aside, we of course have the rate of fire increase. 16% is actually a pretty considerable rate of fire increase. It's not quite the 23% you're going to be getting on your crossbow units, but on a unit that's got a pretty decent amount of ammo like these Tercios, what a nice addition. Makes them fire all that quicker. And of course, the most important one, that 20% accuracy increase. Tercios are a unit that certainly needs this, really benefits from this, makes them a lot more accurate at distance. I feel like they rack up kills quite a lot easier now because they're just hitting more of the shots. They're applying their DPS so much better at sort of that mid-range. Obviously, at long range, they're still massively inaccurate, but this does make them feel all that much better. So apart from that, what else have we got? Veterancy line, same as before, nothing really to comment on there. You can go and watch some of the other Tercio videos for that. And of course, they are still a really tanky unit. We've still got that 662 piercing defense, as long as that 8400 hit points means that they can take a couple of shots from an enemy longbow hero without instantly dying, which is for me one of the things that makes them such an enjoyable unit, because they're so flexible, so forgiving of stupid gameplay, which in my case is very much needed. So they're really quite a nice unit to use. We won't have a super long intro, so let's just go and see what we can do with them. Let's jump into some battles, see what we can do with our Tercios. So we kick things off on Riverland Castle Siege or Assault. Anyway, the red brick map. A little bit of a slow start. I was just set up in the gateway, waiting to see if anyone was really going to push the towers when they shoot away the fire drops. And that kind of got me thinking a little bit, well, are they going to be making a push through the gateway? We see we've got a couple of enemy heroes down there. I was kind of hoping my Tercios may end up shooting down on top of them, but they don't really seem to. I'm checking the towers, and we start to get a bit of stuff moving through the gate. We've got some condos moving through. As the pipe militia start to move through as well, I think, well, I've got to pull off this top position and go down to defend, because otherwise we're just going to lose the A point. And I'm glad I did. Quite a lot of stuff here. And they immediately push out and try and intercept us. We actually get pretty close to the enemy here. Immediately just go straight on, set the unit to work. I've just got them on attack now, and they're just trying to slowly rack up kills. So we're trying to clear through this unit of condos to effectively get onto the point to try and stem the tide of enemy units coming through the gateway. The unit really does well in this sort of situation. Pretty close range, mid-tier units. It just cuts through them so effectively. And they can't really miss in this situation, because look at the size of the cluster of enemy units there and how quickly they're picking up kills, because they're just cutting through a lot of critical damage as we're shooting stuff in the back. And it just really wipes through this cluster of enemy units in the gateway. And with the help of us and the rest of the team, we're pretty much able to completely clear them out. Get about 40 kills with the unit, couple with the hero. Obviously, he couldn't help but shoot the little retreating muskets on the end, hoping I was going to get that glaive kill, but not quite to be. And yeah, I think that kind of shows where the Tercios really do well in this sort of situation. Close to mid-range combat, they really don't miss, particularly with the accuracy buff. And they're basically applying all their damage. You're getting the extra damage from that 16% rate of fire increase with a max tier Tercio unit. They're pretty damaging. Well, to pick up 40 kills that quickly from a ranged unit is kind of impressive. And I throw the unit back on the supply point to re-ammo. But B is under a serious threat. I just pick off this musket because he was there and I was hoping he could go retreat one of his units, and I've called my unit back to me. Now, I'm in a real tough situation here. I want to get on point to help defend the point, But at the same time, I don't want to die before my unit has turned up, because my unit needs to get here to start throwing its support in. And if I die now, my unit won't be able to position itself to turn up. So I'm just trying to keep myself alive. And at this point, I am being a coward. I'm basically waiting for my unit. Just trying to buy time a little bit. But as I get the unit positioned, now I know they're going to be in the right place, and I'm happy. I'm happy to throw my life away to get the point. And I know I was going to die at that point, 4 enemy heroes, multiple enemy units. But it means I can get my unit in place. And with the rest of the Rangers, hoping that was going to be enough for the team to be able to then successfully defend at the B point. Unfortunately, not quite to be, but I think it was a worthwhile sacrifice. And still, the unit does itself pretty well. And as we get that clearance in the point, we clear through enough, I decided to retreat the unit. I thought that was my best moment. And still, we got 67 kills. I thought that more might have a pop at me, but thankfully the unit manages to retreat past it without any issue. Sometimes with a unit like this, it is worth sacrificing yourself as a hero to try and defend a point. Okay, it didn't pan out. We didn't actually help in the end. We didn't save the B point. But by me buying time, once that unit was in position, then it didn't really matter if I died, because my unit's doing the work, not me as a hero. So there's no loss for me sacrificing my life in that sort of situation. But anyway, we've respawned. No losses on the unit. Full stack, coming back in. And we can still reasonably look to defend the A point. Because even though the B point's gone, they've not got the supply. And they've not really built up that surge and pushed past the B point and down to the supply point. So now they're pretty much all on A. So we're back really in the same situation we were right at the start of the match. I've got them a little bit further back. And now they're at sort of mid to long range, I would say. And you can see this is where the accuracy doctrine really comes more into its own. Because they're still picking up kills now. You can still see the hits landing. And this is where I think before the Tercios as a unit struggled a bit more. Very luckily we managed to get away with that. Thank you, Polak Self-Heal, for keeping me alive, particularly with that bleed. I would definitely be dead if I didn't have that weapon dance rune. But Tercios still firing away. Hero kill, nice. Still picking up another hero kill. And this is the accuracy doctrine really starting to take effect. And actually, we're able to completely clear out the A point and re-secure it. Along with the rest of the allied range we've got here, we've got a couple of units of Pavese as well. And I guess that opens up the question, since we've got these enemy Pavese here, of how do the Tercios compare to Pavese with a good unit of Doctrines as well? And that's an interesting question. I think probably the Pavese are slightly more meta. But for me, I think Tercios are easier to do well and easier to have a consistent game with. Pavese are a sort of unit that are very slow, can be a bit frustrating, a little more fragile. I guess they get the shields, but in terms of actual base tankiness, they have a bit less. So I find Pavese can get caught out of position and killed a little bit easier. I find Tercios, I always seem to at least get 30 kills with them, no matter how badly I play them. And I guess that's what I feel the benefit of Tercios is. But with that being said, pulling them back to the supply point to get more ammo. And I guess they do have quite a bit less ammo than Pavese, because the Pavese ammo just lasts almost indefinitely. So anyway, we go and throw them back on the supply point. I'm deciding where I wanted to go. I saw there's a bit of a fight going on up here between a short sword and a glaive, and I wanted to go and help him out. But as I kind of come up here, I just half thought, I didn't know that this was like almost a private duel going on. I go in and look down the glaive, and I sort of see the short sword stops. So I didn't want to steal his kill, and I didn't know if they were having kind of like a bit of a duel. So I kind of just backed off and left it to it. I didn't want to go and take his kill if they were having a little bit of a private fight or something. So I kind of felt, if that's you and I interrupted your little duel, I am sorry. I didn't mean to. So I left him, at least let him have the kill, if anything. So with that said, go back, grab the Tercios, and head back down towards the A point. Because that's what I'm thinking, that if we can hold them on the A point, then this game's going to be over pretty soon. And, well, we're going to be in a pretty good place. But as we head back down, just thinking about where I want to get set up, I'm probably thinking about getting set up just on the back point, similar point to where I was. But as we're kind of getting here, they're starting to push the point again, and I noticed that actually a couple of enemy units are up on the wall now near the base point. Well, there's actually not too much here, so it wasn't really too bad, but don't going to get capped out from behind or anything silly like that. I think something went a bit glitchy here, because I was both locked to him and the poleaxe got him grabbed as well. So it went all a bit funky. Try and get him with some of the guns. He goes for a charge. We don't get the kill, but really get an assist on. And as that happens, pull back down, back up to the back of the A point, looking for my next bit of damage. Hopefully, grab a few more kills. Because by this point, the enemy is actually now starting to get a little bit low on units. and if we can continue to bleed them a little bit more, then we have pretty much got this game in the bag, even now if we lose the day at the A point, because they're just not going to have the units to make a substantial push in the final point. So we start to push forwards. I'm trying to keep them basically in this gateway. We can see this unit of Imperial Javelins, and actually I'm really surprised how tanky they were, how much damage they blocked. You can see we get a few shots going through, but given the amount of fire, look at all the arrows that are also raining in there. Look how well their shield wall actually does. They actually block a really substantial amount of the damage. And we get the occasional kill, you know, on them, but realistically, not that much. They did. I was really impressed with those imp javs. Did better than I thought they were going to, because I don't really like imp javs most of the time. But we're basically just keeping the pressure on that gateway, making it hard for them to get through, because actually, hopefully you'll see in a minute as I have a quick look down, there's actually quite a lot of stuff down there. When we notice these men-at-arms coming around the back, I try and respond, reposition, immediately start targeting my fire on them, try and block them with my hero. Didn't think they would kill me in the charge, and they actually didn't do very much damage on the charge at all. And the amount of range firepower we've got there is enough to completely stop them. But it opens up basically the front to the enemy to come through, and actually managed to sneak the cap on the point. I could at this point just completely run, but effectively the team is trying to pull out. You know, we've still got Pavis coming along this road to try and retreat back, so I'm basically trying to provide sort of a covering retreat. I'm slowly moving backwards, but I'm moving backwards, firing, keeping the enemy back a little bit, just giving the team, or at least those who are going to retreat, time to get the rest of their ranged units out. Particularly the Pavis, because they are pretty slow. You know, we're a bit quicker, a bit more tanky, we can take a little bit more fire. Grab a few extra kills, you know, it gets us a little bit more damage, but we're pretty much out of ammo anyway. So as we fire the last few shots, grab ourselves out and just go and throw ourselves on the supply point and get the unit to go and heal up. And to be honest, we pulled out at the right time, because here comes the enemy cavalry, and yeah, those Pavis ended up paying for that fairly brutally. Although actually the Liaos didn't get perhaps as much damage as they would have liked. We're actually able to grab a few of them with a hero as well, to use the range fire keeps on them. I think a few of those Liaos ended up getting cut down as they tried to run away. So the Tercios are running back to point. They're not a super slow unit, they're not the fastest unit ever, but they're not like Pavis slow, so they do actually move at least sort of at a half decent speed to get back to the supply point to start healing up and start grab some more ammo. So while I'm waiting for that to do that, I'm just kind of looking which way the enemy is really going to be making their push. Given there's a couple of enemies here, I thought realistically they were going to be coming up this back passage, up this back staircase. So that's why I'm kind of thinking about pulling my unit to put them on the stairs, but effectively I'm going to be wanting to put them at the back here, and then just keeping a real careful eye out for enemy trebs, because you know, trebs, such a prime treb spot here. As soon as they start to push up that staircase, that's where they will want to treb you. But other than that, I'm just going to keep half an eye on the other front staircase as well. But I think realistically, you know, it's a 15-man team. We should have enough people to be able to keep an eye on and either ping it or attack whatever comes up the front of it. So my unit pretty much gets down at this point. Let's say, pretty reasonable movement speed, to be honest. I was just kind of looking for something to do. Seemed to be a little bit of a lull in the fighting. I thought I might be able to get a few sneaky shots on that enemy hero there, but not quite happening. Longsword over here. Thought, oh well, we'll have a quick pop at him. Go for a rough justice, but he ends up getting knocked down, so we can't knock him down on the floor. But effectively, the team still gets the kill. And I noticed those three guys all stood on ladders there. We get Treb. The unit just refuses to move. I'm like, move! Move, damn you! Eventually, they get the order and actually start moving. Thankfully, that Treb just wasn't quite on target to where it wanted to be. But yeah, could easily have lost the unit there. Did not do a very good job. And then we notice we've got all these imp javs climbing up the ladders. A very strange place for them to be. But if you can see, look at those condos coming in the distance. They're a real threat to me. That's what I'm conscious of. I'm trying to move. And this is where I don't think things like those Falconetti have noticed that they're under a threat. And thankfully, the rest of the team actually responds and intercepts those condos. But trying to keep good situational awareness. I actually think I did pretty well there, particularly by my standards, which is normally quite poor in this sort of situation. We managed to notice them coming, adjust our situation, get out the way if they're starting to become a threat. And kind of keep our unit safe. But it actually opens up to a reasonable amount of threat coming from the front. So I need to start to reposition. Where am I going to get myself to start putting fire on stuff that comes up the ladders now and up the front staircase? And I decided to go here. Relatively high distances here. Probably quite hard for the Tercios to really land too many hits. But we do manage to get the kill on the longsword. And I'm just trying to basically keep everything contained at the top of this staircase. We get these cav coming in. So that's why I do the direct fire, just to get them to really start firing out in front of them to try and hit that cav. But the cav don't go for any charge, at least not on me, so it's not really too much of a problem for me. And the unit is basically just slowly picking up a few kills here and there, really. Mostly on the enemy ranged as they're starting to push up the top of the stairs. We've got them contained pretty well, and as our friendly stalwarts start to move up, I decided it's about time for us to start to move forward, see if we can grab any extra kills, particularly on some of this enemy range in front of us. And we get a little bit of extra stuff on. Managed to just lock down the enemy longsword just to make sure it really secures the kill, and really pushing through with the rest of the team. As these guys retreat down, you know, we start to get a little bit of extra fire on them, trying to kill these PVs where we can. It's always a nice thing to be able to do. Just get the short sword, short bow, so knocked down and killed. And as the team pushes out, I think, oh come on, we've got a bit of momentum going here. Let's go. Push down. Actually start to pummel into some of these enemy berserkers actually at the bottom of the stairs. I don't think we actually get any kills, and then I saw they're starting to actually come back a little bit. I thought, oh, maybe this isn't such a good place to stand, because we could quite easily get overwhelmed. And since I was about out of ammo anyway, I started to go and throw them back on the supply point. Although we haven't really got very long left in this match now, so I'm kind of willing the Tercios on to quickly go and grab some ammo. And then I just want to call them back to me as quickly as possible so we can get a little bit of extra fighting in. Because at this point, I'm pretty confident that we're going to be winning this game. We've got the clear unit advantage. We've got both staircases pretty convincingly locked off. And I think by this point, the enemy team has actually used a lot of their trebs already. So I think we should hopefully be okay. But as I say that, we actually get a pretty reasonable enemy push starting to merge out this front staircase. Quite a bit of enemy stuff starting to come up. Particularly these 40s as well. They can be a bit nervous, just trying to be careful. As before at the B point, I don't want to get myself killed before I've got my unit back in position, because the unit's back on its way to me. You know, they come reasonably quickly, but they're not super fast. And I just want them to get into the right position before I go and throw my life away. Get a little bit of fighting opportunities here, get a few swing in, but not really anything very much. My unit's starting to arrive now down the staircase as the enemy starts to push in. I decided to try and make a bit too close of a stand here. I thought if I go here, shame those friendly units retreated in front of me. I was kind of hoping, you know, with the amount of fire we're putting in against these loose dispersed fortebraccios, it might be enough. But I unfortunately get myself killed, and I think there was just a few too many enemy heroes there. We pick up a few extra little kills. They still keep firing. Because I put them on that one targeted shooting, it meant they keep shooting rather than getting engaged in melee. So it makes them, you know, still keep firing. And unfortunately, they do slowly get picked away. Particularly the amount of PV's fire that's now coming in at them. They unfortunately get cut down right at the very end of the match. But thankfully, one bloke survives. I've named him Dave, as do all my units. And he manages to survive the match. But it really shows what Tercios are capable of doing and why they're such a good unit. You know, 4 hero, 140 unit kills. You know, shows that the unit is really all about a really, really dominant unit, and those epic doctrines really help the unit out. But anyway, that's all we've got time for today. That was certainly a clip of pretty epic length, but hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you've not got too bored. Do let me know what you think in the comments down below, and of course subscribe to the channel for a lot more Conqueror's Blade content. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all on the next video.